Greetings, parish orphans and retrogrades. We are in the third week of Advent, the Gaudete week, the pink candle week, the celebratory one around my house. We've undertaken a new pre-Christmas tradition where we open the first gift, each member of the family, of the Christmas on Gaudete. And then we're going to do the second gift on the fourth Advent Sunday. And this year, then we're going to do a Christmas Eve gift and a Christmas Eve gift or two, which we always do. Then Christmas, and we're going to go a couple days after Christmas and save one or two gifts for the 26th and 27th. Just something new we're trying. But, and with full awareness of the cognitive dissonance, irony, paradox entailed by this, here in Gaudete week, the non-penitential week of the 4-week pre-Christmas season, the happy week, I wanted to do a show on Advent and even Christmas time suffering. Many folks suffered a lot in 2024. It was a tough year. And I'm not just talking about the Biden economy, though it lower levels of intensity, it includes that. We're all suffering with paying like $7 for a gallon of milk at the grocery store. In my own life, in the lives of some of my dearest friends, late 2023 and 2024 was just a tough year. I had some minor bodily sufferings that were kind of chronic going on from Easter on. That's nothing, though, compared to some of my friends. In late 2023, just having passed the anniversary, one of my dear friends lost both twins in utero, had a wife pregnant with twins, and lost them both. That anniversary just passed 2.5 days ago. And another one of my dear friends in the same basic group of friends, the day after that anniversary this year, 2 days ago, lost his 14-month-old son to bacterial meningitis. I tweeted about it and asked for prayers, and Twitter was very good about this, like 5,000 likes or something, which is a lot for my Twitter account. And lots of prayers were sent the way of little William, the 14-month-old, over the course of this past weekend. I think beginning Wednesday night is when I became aware of the bacterial meningitis, and he was being transferred. I was on with my friend as he drove from Bakersfield, my hometown, I'm loath to admit, to the Children's Hospital a couple hours north of Baco in Fresno. I was on the phone with him the whole time. I was on and off all night. I think that was Wednesday night, if I'm not mistaken. Then Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, we were just the whole city, Catholic part of the city of Bakersfield, was praying and nervous. And it felt like one of those near Christmas, pre-Christmas semi-tragedies that was going to turn out all right. I was like, I'll bet you that, I told my buddy, I'll bet you'll be so appreciative on Christmas and little William will be okay. I have a feeling. And you can't really trust feelings. Sometimes you can, and you say, I'm an intuitive guy, and other times you can't, because unfortunately, my good friend's son, William, died about 36 hours ago after being on, I think, I got to be careful with the information. I think being on a ventilator, don't quote me, for a while, and it had become clear the last 36 to 48 hours of little William's life that he was the organs were starting to go. And bacterial meningitis is really, really bad for little kids, as you probably heard. And I was just wrong when I thought, hey, you're going to have a really great Christmas. Maybe you'll still be in the hospital, maybe you'll be home, but you'll be with little William. And this is the 6th kid, a very very faithful family, one of the most faithful families I know. The wife is, Steph always says, the only lady she's ever met of any generation. People tend to worship their elders, but this lady's actually a little younger than us, who reminds Steph even a little bit of the Virgin Mary, and I agree. And my friend is really a holy guy, and he's done a lot of works of service for the city of Bakersfield as one of the Catholic leaders there. I taught with him for many years. And just a humble, holy, committed Catholic family who, chose to be, he was campus minister for a while, he's teacher, theology teacher now, choosing to lead this life. And can we put up Cratchit Mourns' son? My friend has, I guess you're getting the name because I'm going to put up a GoFundMe, but that's that's sort of the short run. I'm going to put up his GoFundMe that another mutual friend from Bakersfield started for him. But I told my buddy, the father of little William, that I do this every year. I put up my favorite modern Christmas images. And for all the IQ 95s out there that'll spurg out if you call your favorite Christmas image something other than a portrayal of the Nativity or baby Jesus, which this is. This is Bob Cratchit from Dickens' Christmas Carol in the scene, the vignette, which is hypothetical in the future when Scrooge sees what will happen if he doesn't help monetarily and morally and emotionally. And Tiny Tim dies. And do we have Cratchit mourning his son up here?
I'm trying to get it up, yes.
It's just sublime and painful and beautiful.
It's up.
And I don't know who the artist is because I only have ever found it on Etsy or Ipsy or one of those C's. But every year, if you go back and you check my Twitter account or you even remember it, you'll know this time of the year in the penitential part of usually about the fourth Sunday of Advent, I fly this thing and I just say, as a father of a very, very special need, a very intensive special needs kid, Abby, our eldest, who was born in Italy. So many times I thought, man, we've spent so many weeks composite in children's hospitals. And you really start developing a pathos there that where you think stuff like this is beautiful. Cratchit mourning his son. And I got to a point where I could only watch movies that were, when they really basically removed half of Abby's brain 4.5 years ago. I got to a part, I'm not like this anymore, I'm a very silly guy by nature, where all I could care about are sad songs, melancholic movies. You had to watch Christian Bale movies because he's always a desperate moral man with his back against the wall. That's always how I kind of thought of myself then. Or Bob Cratchit, just look at this beautiful image of him mourning his little son's body. And there's a Christmas image because of the combination of the purple and the pink, the penitential and the joyful, the Gaudius. This is what Christmas is all about. It's joyful. It's more joyful than the Lenten season, which is pure purple. So it's got 1/4 that's pink. And in years past, I think I've made a lot out of, hey, should be 3/4 pink and 1/4 purple. But this year, after 2024, so many of you out there, parish orphans, retrogrades, friends of mine, friends of the show that are a little more arm's distance, personal friends of mine like William's father and the father of the twins who died late 2023. I'm including that. These are two of my dear friends. Good, humble men who are servants of the church and servants of the congregation, lay servants, excellent teachers and men, these two men I'm talking about, who are also friends with each other and are also teachers and have brought many to our Lord. I just think I was wrong. Christmas is all about the incarnation of our Lord. And that's joyful, but I see why it's only 1/4 joyful, because he's still reconciling God and sinners. And because God and sinners require reconciliation, meaning it's right now, but it's not yet. It's kind of in the past, but it's not yet. We still have to pay that one death. And I'll quote my other friend, the father of the twins. His little daughter Eleanor said, he chooses, he, capital H, chooses some now and some later. And there's a theological, soteriological paradox that festers like a canker at the heart of this question that parents well understand. If you're, it's very, very tricky for in utero twins because of the teaching, or in utero children who die. But I'll take little William. Can we put up William's GoFundMe, Stevie? That it's theologically really clear. He's a baptized child with 5 older siblings and 2 very holy parents, 2 of the holiest parents I know. Little William, who recently deceased. And it's so sad, but theologically, soteriologically, his fate is fixed. He was baptized, and he's not yet achieved the age of reason. So pretty much an unnamed canonized saint, as are any baptized children that die well before 7 or 8 years old, when their intellect and wills become capable of informing intent to sin. So pretty much a done deal. He's in heaven. This is what I told my buddy. I'm like, this is so hard, but weirdly, your whole mission, your vocation is father. And if you have 6 kids, it's 1/6 complete now. It's more than anyone can say. More than any boomer or Gen X with a grown-up kid that's thriving bodily or monetarily, but is so far away from the church and is likely on the primrose path to hell that the corrupting force of the world leads one on. So there is this paradox that now the Williams family and all of the friends and pretty much all the Catholics of Bakersfield, California, are left mourning him, his loss. But this is like a Boomer Novus Ordo funerary homily, elegy, whatever, eulogy, where they say like, oh, they're in a better place. Well, most people aren't, Jack. Most people aren't. They'll say this about, you go to, a drug death or a suicide or a funeral for any other typical sort of mediocre bad guy that didn't love the Lord, and they'll say he's in a better place. No, he's probably not. Oh, I don't know. I ain't the judge. The judge is just, and therefore there's a predictability to where people go. But here, like one of those boomer eulogies, now I'm going to say it, little William's up in heaven, but his family's here. And like a lot of my other friends, even like me in 2024, more physical suffering than most years from minor stuff. There's just a lot of people in this position. So I want to correct what I've said in the past about, why are there 3 purple candles and 1 pink candle? It should be 3 and 1, not 1 and 3. No, I was wrong. The Christmas season is about reconciling God and sinners. And even though we can have the soteriological effects of original sin and actual sin expunged through the sacraments, hallelujah, through the cross, hallelujah, through his holy blood, his precious blood, hallelujah. We the sinners bathe in his precious blood. We consume his body, blood, soul, divinity. And we were allowed to do that through the sacrament of confession. Hallelujah. Because of the incarnation, which was necessitated the minute that Adam and Eve sinned through feminism, through the sin of feminism. Great. But we still have to, as the Catechism says, suffer the physical, natural, temporal consequences of our actual sin and of original sin. Meaning original sin caused death. God hadn't planned death for us. And then our personal actual sins cause all sorts of disorder, that just because we might be on the sacramental path to purgatory, most of us at best, or heaven, regarding the saints, doesn't mean that we don't suffer disordered relationships here on earth. People are going to mistrust you if you used to be a thief. Even if you reformed yourself, it's not unjust for them to mistrust you if you're a reformed thief. Recidivism rates are high. If you're a reformed murderer, you can still go to heaven, same deal. But people aren't going to, you're not going to start a babysitting business or a kidnapper. And this is what's so funny about once saved, always saved Protestants, and even the germination of that silly, dunderheaded notion which stole into Catholicism. Look, God is perfectly just and perfectly merciful, and he's going to, make two parallel lines bent somewhere in eternity such that they touch. Cool. And those two lines are called justice and mercy. That's the meaning of Christmas. That's the meaning of the Nativity. But it's more purple than pink, contrary to what I've said in the past, precisely because we still have to suffer the temporal consequences and the bodily consequences and the death of relationships of both original and personal sin. Playing Bob Cratchit. I love the Bob Cratchit who plays in the George C. Scott version of Christmas Carol. That actor's name is, I'm going to read it to you now. That actor's name
While you're doing that, just for the people who are who typically listen to the podcast and don't watch because they can't see the screen, the GoFundMe for William Carasalis is called Support for William Carasalis' Funeral and Family. That's WILLIAM. Last name Carasalis, CARRISALEZ. And again, they were just asking for, the organizer was just asking for $15,000, but we know what these situations are like with medical costs, and we know James is a teacher, and they're going to need way more than that. So if people are generous this Christmas, or in a position to be, this is a great cause. This is a great Catholic family. Yeah,
imagine the week before Christmas suffering the death of your dear 14-month-old baby, cute little baby, William. And these are some of the most humble people I've ever met, and their friend, Steve, who put up the GoFundMe, one of the most humble guys I've ever met. So they asked for $15,000. I think they already met it because I bet that amount. This is way under what I would have flown it for. Again, because there's a lot of you guys, you're the best people on the internet, parish orphans and retrogrades. If everyone gives $15, then we can get way more than 1,000 people, and lots of people are giving more than that. So 15,000 isn't, I don't think, enough. So it's not just for the funerary expenses. It's, I don't know how much work James missed with this, maybe not tons, but the medical bills, I don't know what they're going to be, but there was intensive care for 5 days, and that builds up fast. And then just anything, the medical transfer was going to be a helicopter. Then it was, if you know the great Central Valley of California, they got socked in by fog. So it was really, really expensive. It was a 2-hour ride, I think, in an ambulance. Don't quote me on any of this because GoFundMe gets funky. We're not looking to say anything wrong. This is the most info I had. And, it was getting passed around Bakersfield. I was talking directly to the father of William because he's my friend, but I was trying not to talk about this. I was talking about trying to get his mind off of it at various points, talking about why Kobe's so much better than Braun. Stuff like that. I mean, just the kind of delicate balance you're trying to strike when tragedy strikes or what have you. So don't quote me any of these directly, but they've already passed the 15K. Let's get it 3 times that if you can. I mean, and no one has to do it single-handedly. No one has to do it single-handedly. Just if everyone has 15, 20, 25 bucks, this is a great cause. This is one of the holiest laymen I've ever met, I've ever known. We've been friends for 10 years. And just imagine.
His wife is literally one of the greatest women I've ever met in my life. So
This is Steph, who's the ultimate critic of women.
I am the ultimate critic of women.
Steph hates women.
When I tell you that this woman is like renowned around that city as being just a gem of a woman, you mean it. You can take that to the bank. So much so that even before this happened, we had other friends in our house that were from Bakersfield, and they were, whenever this couple gets brought up, and the woman in particular gets brought up, they're like, oh yeah, she's a saint. Like,
Nomen est omen. Yeah, that Steph doesn't say that about many women. Steph has almost, isn't Matt Fradd or anyone will tell you, he was all sensitive when we were talking about this on his show. Steph's quite the critic of today's women. Rachel Wilson, Steph's Eastern Orthodox friend of this show, she knows. We're loath to give too many compliments, but Grace is her name, and because now the last name is out there anyway, and you're going to be able to find it. And nomen est omen. Nomen est omen. The older I get, people's names are fate. So I'll say this. Let's get them to 3 times that. Let's get them to 3 to 4 times that, if you guys are willing. This is just, one of the saddest. And we had just a tough weekend with it, because I was waiting by the phone. We were doing our little walk on laps, and we were like, it's just really weird. See what you think of this. Speaking of Christmas admixtures of the pink and the purple, this trips me out and still kind of messes with my psychology. It's weird to be, because I've given lots of pep talks, because some people will come to me if their kids are sick because they know I've spent so much time in children's hospital. And I'm speaking from my experience, which is, things are really scary. You're like in the bed, and I also hate doctors. 19 times out of 20, I actually hate them personally. But there's some really good doctors, some that are associated with this channel, like Dr. Damon Cudahy, the good man, speaking of saintly people. But I hate it because I'm in the belly of the beast. I hate all the nurses. I hate all the doctors. It's an evil system. Beerbug proved it. And so I go in there, and you don't feel any lower. You check in. Hospitals are built like labyrinths. Also, don't take your kids to hospital unnecessarily, because like floor 2 of every hospital has a
Vicious CPS.
CPS, and they're there as a cudgel to threaten you. Things like, if you don't want to, I'm not saying this isn't relevant to today's case, but they'll literally kind of start threatening your other kids if they see you have other kids and you refuse to take your kid off of a respirator or life support or something like that. Terry Schiavo type situations. They're literally on call at every major hospital in America. CPS, which is lots of children go missing from CPS and wind up in Coca-Cola trucks. Did you hear about that story? I mean, they weren't specifically pointing to CPS, but I've heard crazy stats. My friend Nick Macon died suddenly, says he made another movie called These Little Ones about trafficking. He said 83% of children that go through CPS end up getting lost track of at some point or another, So hospitals are horrible, and you want to keep your kids out of them if you can. People know I've spent a lot of time in there, in Rome, in America, in San Diego, in Bakersfield. All kinds of time spent studying for philosophy comps, doing philosophy theses, law school. It was just major swath of my life. Abby's first 7 years, just lots of children's hospital, and I hated it, and it made me sick to be there. So people ask me advice, and I'm like, oh, no, you're gonna, I really have a strong, good feeling about this. By Christmas, you're gonna be holding William, you're gonna be out again. That turned out wrong. I get stuff like that right a lot, so I think, take this to the bank. That trips me out. It's a mixture of pink and the purple, so you don't know what's coming. You don't know what tomorrow holds, like Jesus says. I said the same thing to Steph's beloved step grandpa, good man, very Santa Claus-like man. Richard, beautiful man. Richard, before he died, and he was having pulmonary issues, and he had like a trouble, and he went into the hospital, and I was like, "You're through the woods, man." And we were going we were leaving LA to go to Bakersfield, and I was like, "We'll see you in 3 days." We're going, I think, for Thanksgiving, and he died. And it's just like those two. Now it's two events stick with me. No one knows. I'm not a prophet. It's just when I'm giving out, you're giving this advice, it's scary because you don't know what's coming down the pike. Christmas is a time of recognizing the need for the reconciliation. The incarnation is the solution, and that's the pink. But the purple is the fact that we're in this veil of suffering, veil of tears, veil of sorrow, veil of shadows, if you like Stranger Things. We live in the upside down. It's not like this is the good world and then there's an upside down. That's the veil of shadows. That's Stranger Things. In the real world, we live in like Satan's playground, and we're trying to get back to like west of Eden, to get north of Eden, get to heaven. That's the whole point. Okay, so that actor that I love is named, I had it pulled up. That actor's name is George C. Scott version's my favorite version of Christmas Carol. It always messes with me to watch little Cratchit with his son.
And weirdly enough, the Muppets Christmas Carol is exceedingly touching.
I was getting to Kermit as the second best Cratchit ever.
It
the
makes
first
me
best
cry every time.
Yeah, it is. There's some deep lines in Muppet Christmas Carol. Believe it or not, we're not even being ironic. But the greatest Cratchit ever is played by David Warner. You've seen him in a lot of other films. He's played bad guys. I think he's played Jack the Ripper even. But he is such a good Cratchit. That's Cratchit in the George C. Scott version of Christmas Carol, which is one of my favorite movies. And Kermit the Frog is my second favorite. I love pretty much any version of this Christmas Carol tale. Read it to the fam lots of years. But Kermit says life is a series of meetings and partings, as Kermit the Frog, Bob Cratchit. And that's true. And that's fine with friends and even, extended family. This person kind of comes in and out of our life. Sometimes they never come back. But it's not fine with our spouses and our kids. Just no one feels that way. And yet that's the design. And little William or our other friend with his in utero twins.
Teresa Sando's in chat right now.
What's up, Teresa? Yeah, Teresa, you understand. You understand what we're talking about. We don't feel comfortable with the purpleness of Advent when it comes to our spouse and our children. With life being a series of partings, even with them, even with Steph and my kids, I feels too much. Now, it's a condemned heresy. God doesn't give, or it's at least on the syllabus of errors, Pio Nono. But God doesn't give us more than we can handle. But that's the closest thing to tempting more than we can handle. And it's not. It's not. Ask the Carasalas. They're still happy, holy. He's still writing thank you, this effusive thanks, even on the day little William died. And I'm going to tell him, I didn't tell him I'd done this show yet, but can we get Cratchit mourning his son again? Yeah. Just a little lifeless body in this little English side bedroom with a kind of Tudor window and some ivy for Christmas. I love this. I've always loved this. I made, as a matter of fact, my honors seniors in philosophy class just write an essay on it. That was like one of 3 essays. They'd studied all the stuff, Aristotle, Thomas, Dostoevsky, and then I was just like, write on this. And I showed them Cratchit mourns his son.
That is life right there. That's like all of the themes of life in this picture. right there.
Yeah.
Love that painting.
Yeah, it is. It's part light, it's part dark. I'm not a big art guy, but it's part light, it's part dark. It's a good man mourning the lifeless body of his dead son. Luckily, Tiny Tim doesn't die. This is only kind of impotency. Scrooge does help. And it's a warm room, but it's a soft room, but it's sort of cold. There's no rug near the bed, I don't think. Or maybe there is. And this is the veil of sorrows. There's love, there's warmth. Cratchit has other kids. He's got a good wife, a non-feminist wife. I mean, go watch the George C. Scott version of this. It is the meaning of the incarnation. It is the essence and the depth of me being so wrong about, no, Christmas is 3/4 pink, 1/4 purple. It's not. 2024 made me realize that, and not just because Biden has milk now like $7.50 a gallon. That sucks too, by the way. But I mean, real suffering. Christians band together. Let's, if you can, if you're willing, if you have 15 or 20 or 25 or 30 extra bucks, let's get the GoFundMe for the family. William's in a fine place, but for the family bereft of William to, let's say, 3 to 4 times what they're aiming for. These are some of the most humble people I've ever met. And I was like, okay, I hope people don't listen too much to the GoFundMe amount. And in my experience, they don't. Because particularly this time of the year, particularly you parish orphans and retrogrades out there are so generous. It would be a real boon. And it's one thing to say it's just money, because it is. But it can take a real load off the mind of someone if they're like, okay, well, we're going to find out 6 months later, sometimes with the ridiculous medical coding billing practices in this corrupted, once great nation, what this actually costed. And, you know, if they have a cushion for far beyond the cost of just the funeral, and even they're going to have to maybe buy presents late. I don't know if they're set for Christmas, but this probably threw a real kink in their Christmas plans. Just to have some extra cash, because you can expedite stuff. If you can afford to expedite stuff, then okay, well, we'll just order everything. We'll do it the fast way. We'll do it the easy way. So Cratchit mourns his son, one of my favorite modern Christmas images, probably my favorite modern Christmas image. And I know that the IQ 94 spurg out because it's an image. It's not, look, if there's a classical or a medieval Christmas image, then it's going to have Jesus in it. I mean, I love those. But among the modern images, I love Bob Cratchit mourning his son. I don't know the name of the artist of this one, but I love it. I love it. And we're going to start the various versions of Christmas Carol, the movie, soon. We love George C. Scott. Even the semi-animated Jim Carrey one's not bad, but our second favorite one is the Muppets.
I think I cry more during the Muppets Christmas Carol than the other one. And it's I always tell our friends that, like, I was like, check out the Muppets Christmas Carol. They're like, my sister in Christ, is this a serious recommendation? I'm like, I'm not kidding. It's beautiful. It's very touching, and I end up crying through that more than like the George C. Scott version.
Yeah, Kermit really brings the house down as Bob Cratchit. So, you know, just a meditation. If you would please go fund William Carasolis's family. Is that still attached? These are good people. These are the people, if you knew them, you'd be like, I want to help these people. I want to help these people.
One of the things I always, that brought me a lot of comfort when we were dealing with the uncertainty of Abby being in the hospital, and she's had, 3 or 4 brain surgeries since her birth, but just reflecting on Our Lady's sorrow and just it came to mind so many times when I've had like severe sorrow or grief or even doubt or fright throughout my life, just thinking about Our Lady watching her son be tortured and killed and the long process of that, and being there and watching and witnessing every fall, every cut, like every single affliction the Lord went through, she stood there and she witnessed it and experienced it along with her son. And I think about that all the time when I'm like even tempted to feel a little sorry for myself if Abby's particularly having a hard time. And I'm like, man, if Our Lady can watch her precious son, who she loves obviously as a son, but also her Lord, go through that torture and stand on her feet and be witness to it, I can get through my piddly little issues here on earth.
Yeah, we were at the Nutcracker Suite on Sunday. It's become a family tradition. It's like the only ballet that America has absorbed, and it's really good. Beautiful Tchaikovsky. And Abby was sitting next to me, and she started with, "I have a headache. Would you tell Mom I have a headache?" Yeah, I'll tell her. "Would you tell Maggie I have a headache?" And she's just rubbing her head. She has a shunt in her brain, and every once in a while, she needs a little brain surgery to tune it up. And I was like, please no. I gave her an ibuprofen, and it went away. But I just, anytime I'm tempted to feel sorry for us too much, the Gordons with shunt problems or neurological issues, or, oh, are we going to be in a hospital? I hate hospitals so much. Please, Lord. I think of the Virgin Mary and what she went through. And I was thinking that day of the Carasoles and my friend Anthony, who had the twins. And I just think these are good and holy men that I'm proud to call myself the friend of. And you can go through a lot and bounce back from a lot. And that's what we do as Christians. That's what it's all about. It's what Gandhi meant. I mean, Gandhi's an idiot. But when he said, "Oh, I'd be a Christian if I ever met one that was exactly like Jesus." Well, none are going to be exactly like Jesus, you moron. But there are some really, really good facsimiles that have really closely, as close as you can, modeled their lives after him. They're called the saints. And there are some men that I happen to be friends with. Some of my friends are some of the best guys around who are walking the walk. So the GoFundMe's up. Please, you guys are always so generous. I try not to hit you with trifling GoFundMe matters, but I get asked a lot, "Hey, would you send this GoFundMe?" A lot of times I say I can't, but this is an obvious one. God bless you all. It's Gaudete week. This is the 1/4 of Advent that's supposed to be joyous. So go out and do something fun, but you can't make yourself truly, truly, truly sad in abstracto for, oh, Gordon's friend's son. You know, look, if you don't know someone, it's still an abstract Christian truism to say, I want to give some money and help. And just be happy that this didn't happen to anyone in your life. You don't have to actually make yourself sad. But when this happens to someone that's close to you in your orbit, it's gnarly and unexpected. But it's Christian. It's near to the bone of the human experience, as is this beautiful painting of Cratchit mourning his son. I want to watch one of the many versions of Christmas Carol that we always rewatch tonight. We do a Christmas movie every night, pretty much all of December, and we've saved these. Okay. All right. Well, we square. Parish Orphans and Retrogrades, thank you for all your help. Thank you for support of the show. Like this channel if you can. We're trying to hit 100,000. We just hit a standstill on subscribers. So if you're watching the show, like and subscribe. And go to GoFundMe for Little William. God bless you all. Deus Volt. Happy Gaudete week, people. We love you guys.